Hello, and welcome back to the Compassionate Curiosity Podcast, a space where we explore the messy, beautiful, challenging project of being human. I'm your host, Rachel, a wellness coach and mindfulness guide at Tranquilopawellness. And here we dive into the stories we carry about food, movement, our bodies, and self worth, sharing tools, reflections, and lived experience to support and inspire your journey forward, all guided by curiosity and grounded in compassion. And I'm so glad you are joining me here today. Today's episode is one that I have been looking forward to because we're diving into a concept that is something that has become very close to my heart. Something that I first heard named in the book Eating in the Light of the Moon by Anita Johnston, and that is shadow sisters. These are the parts of you that you may have learned to hide, silence, or shame, like the inner critic, the perfectionist, or the part of you that feels like she always has to be in control. And so in this episode, we are not going to learn how to get rid of these parts. Instead, we're going to be focusing on how to meet them, how to see them, how to shift your relationship to them with curiosity, compassion, and maybe even gratitude. So we're going to talk about what shadow sisters are and how they show up in our relationship with our bodies and our sense of worth. We're going to talk about 5 of the most common shadow sisters that I see in women struggling with self-criticism and body image. Why these parts are not the enemy, but actually guiding posts, and how to begin integrating them so that you can feel more whole, grounded, and safe in yourself. So whether you've struggled with body image, perfectionism, shame, or just feeling that you're too much or not enough, this conversation is here to help you ease up on the self-judgment and reconnect with the you beneath it all. And just a quick note before we dive in, I am not a therapist, and what I share here comes from my own lived experience and what I've learned along the way. And it's also rooted in the work that I do as a wellness coach and mindfulness teacher, supporting women in softening self-judgment, building self-awareness, and reconnecting with the deeper truth of who they are. So this episode isn't meant to replace therapy by any means. And if anything that we talk about brings up strong emotions for you, I'd encourage you to seek support from a licensed mental health provider, and remember that you are not alone in this work. So with that, I want to invite you to join me in a moment of grounding ourselves, centering ourselves, turning inward, regardless of what is going on outside, to take a moment to breathe and just feel ourselves, be with ourselves. And so if you are safe and able to, make yourself comfortable and gently close your eyes. And let's start by taking a deep breath in through our nose and a long breath out through our nose. Just noticing any sensations in your body. Notice any areas where you might be holding tension. And just see if you can relax, see if you can let go. Notice any mind chatter that might be going on, which is totally human and normal. Just notice and let go. And let's take one more deep breath in and a long breath out. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes again and coming back to this space. Thank you. So you might have heard of shadow work before. Carl Jung described the shadow as the unconscious parts of ourselves that we tend to disown or reject. And for this episode's sake, we're going to refer to those as shadow sisters, because they often show up with a feminine voice, a focus on connection, and deep emotional wisdom, even if they sound critical or fearful at first. And so these sisters might sound like, you can't rest, you haven't earned it, or you don't show your body like that, or you better not mess this up or they'll judge you. And the thing is, these beautiful sisters are not here to ruin your life. They're here to protect you. They formed in response to something that felt too overwhelming, too uncertain, too confusing, or too painful to face at the time. And that something might have been an old wound, an outdated belief, or cultural conditioning. So they protected you from feeling that pain and, served as a way of coping with those challenging emotions. So they became loud to keep you safe, to help you survive, keeping you vigilant, helping you belong, and creating a sense of predictability. All in all, you can think of them as helping you get through something hard that you faced. And these parts were shaped when you were younger, more vulnerable, or didn't yet have the resources that you do now. So oftentimes they still operate as if you're in danger, even if you're safe today. They don't realize that you can now set boundaries. You can survive imperfection. You're allowed to rest and still be worthy, or that you no longer need to be invisible or in control to feel okay. So their protectiveness becomes limiting instead of helpful, unless you update your relationship with them and show them, hey, thank you for what you've done for me in the past, but I've got this now. And so why does this matter? Because if we don't recognize these shadow sisters for what they are, protective parts that formed to help us survive, we end up fighting against ourselves, right? We stay stuck in cycles of shame, self-criticism, and body distrust. But when we shift the way we relate to these parts, we unlock something incredibly powerful, and that is the ability to reclaim our wholeness, which is our natural state of being. And this is the thing, though, that when these parts show up, most of us don't know what to do with them. Most of us try to change or silence them. Like we get mad at the inner critic, we distract ourselves or stay constantly busy so we don't have to hear what those parts are saying, or we feel ashamed of the shame. But pushing them away doesn't heal them or bring peace. It actually just creates a wider gap between you and the parts of yourself that need compassion most. The more we push them away, the more we push away parts of ourselves that are just trying to be heard. And so real transformation happens when we can shift the relationship to these parts. Again, not by fixing them, but by getting to know them, listening to them, honoring their voice and hearing what they're trying to tell you without letting them take the wheel. And when you do that, the shame softens, the fear loosens. You start to discover parts of you that were never broken. They were just buried and ignored. And so now I want to talk about 5 common shadow sisters in body image and self-worth struggles. So let me introduce you to some sisters that may sound familiar to you. We'll talk about what they sound like, what they're typically rooted in, and what she needs. So the first one is the perfectionist, and her voice may sound like, "You're not doing enough. You should be better by now." And this is usually rooted in fear of unworthiness, conditional love. The perfectionist formed in response to the belief that your worth depends on what you achieve or how well you perform. Maybe love or approval felt tied to being good, successful, or put together. And so she pushes you, not out of cruelty, but because she's trying to keep you safe from rejection by making you enough in a world that told you you weren't. What she actually needs is to know that being human alone is enough. She doesn't have to earn love through performance or perfection. She needs reassurance that she is worthy, not because she's flawless, but because she exists. The second sister is the shrinking violet. And she might sound like, don't take up space, don't draw attention to your body. And this is usually rooted in learned safety in invisibility. So this part often develops when being seen or taking up space once felt unsafe. Maybe you were teased for your body, shamed for your voice, or simply learned that being quiet and compliant got you the least amount of trouble. Somewhere along the line, your nervous system linked visibility with vulnerability. If you're small enough, quiet enough, agreeable enough, maybe you won't be judged, hurt, or abandoned. And so the shrinking violet helps you stay under the radar as a form of safety. But over time, this hiding creates a painful sense of disconnection from your full self, your voice, your body, your power. So what she really needs is reassurance that visibility doesn't equal danger. She needs to know that taking up space, being seen, and using her voice isn't a threat, it's a birthright. She's allowed to show up fully without fear of rejection or harm. Sister number 3 is the inner critic. And this voice might sound like, you look terrible, you should be ashamed. And this is usually rooted in internalized voices from culture, media, caregivers. Over time, messages about how your body should look or how you should behave gets absorbed as truth. And the inner critic forms as an echo of those voices, trying to keep you in line with external expectations to avoid judgment or shame. And what she needs is to be seen as a scared protector, acting from a place of fear, not as a villain. She's not trying to harm you. She's trying to keep you safe in the only way she knows. So she needs acknowledgement, not exile, and a new role rooted in support instead of fear. Sister number 4 is the image manager. She is similar to the perfectionist, but the main difference here is that she focuses on appearing right, whereas the perfectionist focuses on doing right. So she is motivated by fear or being exposed or disliked. And so her voice might sound like, be likable, be polished, don't mess up. And this is usually rooted in survival through approval. At some point, this part learned that being accepted, liked, or praised kept you emotionally safe. Whether it was through social validation, fitting in, or being seen as good, approval became a kind of armor. Without it, she fears rejection or abandonment, so she works hard to curate how others see you. What she needs is permission to be messy and still loved. She needs to know that your worth isn't tied to how you appear or whether others approve. She's longing for the safety of authenticity, to be seen in your wholeness. Sister number 5 is the control keeper. And her voice might sound like, if you control your food, your body, your schedule, everything will be okay. And this is usually rooted in fear of chaos or fear of loss. This part formed in response to unpredictability, whether emotional, physical, or relational. When things felt out of control, she stepped in to create structure, rules, and certainty. Control became her way of preventing pain, disappointment, or abandonment. It wasn't about being rigid, it was about staying safe in a world that once felt overwhelming or unstable. And what she needs is safety in surrender and presence. She needs to know that it's okay to let go, that she doesn't have to control everything to be okay. What she's really seeking is trust in your body, in the moment, and in your capacity to handle life as it comes. I want to pause here for a second because I know that all of this might sound a little crazy, a little weird, a little strange, talking to parts of yourself, imagining that your inner critic might have a voice or even a personality. I get it. It can feel like you're a little insane at first. But what I've found in my own healing and in the work I do with others is that when we bring curiosity to these inner voices, instead of judgment, we create space for shifts to happen. So it's about building awareness around them and learning to listen in a new way. Some therapists call this parts work. And while we're not practicing it clinically here, the concept speaks to something deeply human, the truth that we're not just one voice. Many of us carry a whole cast of inner voices formed from experiences, fears, beliefs. But your true self isn't any one of these voices. It's what holds all of them and does so with love and compassion. And when we remember that, it becomes easier to meet these parts with more curiosity and compassion and have an openness to get to know them rather than push them away. And ultimately help us gain more clarity and trust in ourselves and in our lives. So You're not crazy. You're becoming more self-aware and you're growing. So how do we start to get to know these sisters and start building that new relationship with these parts? Let's look at 4 steps that you can start to do just that. So step 1 is notice without judgment. When a critical or controlling thought comes up, pause. And instead of reacting or resisting, ask, which sister is speaking right now? And step 2 is get curious. Sit with her, name her, visualize her if you want, and ask, what are you trying to protect me from? What do you need? When did you first start showing up? Curiosity here is what's going to soften any shame because it's what brings more openness, more possibility, more neutrality when we look at things from this lens. It says, I'm willing to understand you. Step 3 is offer compassion, not control. So try a loving inner response like, I see you. You've been working so hard. You don't have to protect me like this anymore. I've got us. Step 4 is integration. So what if this sister came with you on your healing journey? What if the goal wasn't to get rid of her, but to walk with her with boundaries, compassion, and clarity? This means recognizing that this part of you might still show up from time to time, and that's okay. Integration doesn't mean she disappears. It means that you relate to her differently. And so how do you do that? There's a couple ways. You can set boundaries with kindness. You might say internally, I hear you, but I'm making a different choice today. You can invite her along, but don't let her take the lead. So for example, if she shows up before a meal or a mirror check or a social event, you can pause and say, I know you're trying to protect me, but I've got us now. You can let her speak, but also speak back. Write to her in a journal. This has been particularly helpful for me in my journey in building my awareness and understanding of myself. Let her voice be heard, then respond from your grounded, wise self. And you can also give her a new job. Maybe instead of criticizing, she becomes your signal to slow down, to self-soothe, or to check in with your needs. So now I want to invite you to reflect with me here. Let's pause and just take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And I want you to picture one of the shadow sisters that stood out to you today. Maybe one that felt familiar or stirred something in you as I described her. You don't need to have her fully figured out. Just notice, what does she feel like in your body? What might she want you to know? And can you offer her a soft, curious, hello, I see you? And what might you say to her now if your voice came from love instead of fear? And just see what comes up. So as we wrap up here, let's keep in mind that these sisters aren't something to be ashamed of. They've carried you through. They hold your strength, your sensitivity, your survival, and they aren't here to sabotage your healing. They're actually here to guide it. And healing and wholeness aren't about having perfect parts. It's about allowing every part to have a seat at the table without letting them run the show. So exploring your shadow sisters is an opportunity to meet yourself fully, gently, curiously, all parts welcome. So if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear who your shadow sister is and what she's been teaching you. You can send me a message. I'll link in the show notes how to do that. And until next time, my dear, may you know that you are not alone. I am here with you. May you be guided by curiosity and grounded in compassion. Sending you love, light, and gratitude today and always.